Hello guys, today I'm going to be showing you one simple setting that's going to dramatically increase the realism of portrait type renders. So this was given to me by a friend of the channel, Heriberto, who frankly inspires me to look up a lot of things. And I remember learning about this a long time ago and then for some reason completely forgot to ever use it. Not to worry. So what we have here is a Victoria 4 and she's just sitting around, and we've got a point light up here. So let me just show you the top view. There's actually 2-point lights. There's one here close to her face, which is what, 25% intensity. And then we have, let's just check that intensity. Yeah, 25% intensity. And we have one which is over here, which is turned off. So the proximity to her face is very, very important. And I'll explain why in a minute. So I'll just do a front cam. So as you can see, it's kind of off and above her here. Go back to my main cam. Oh, no, what was it? Auxiliary cam? No, okay. A face cam, I think it was. Yeah, face cam. Here we go. So I'll give you a render first of all. So this is a default point light. Oh, scratch that. That's a default point light in Firefly. Well, it's interesting for the comparison. For those of you who say, well, I see no reason to go to Superfly, this should illustrate things perfectly well. So Superfly, and there you go. Done quicker and better looking. So here's your Firefly. Look at this in here, all kind of there. And here, the indirect illumination, which is built into Superfly, just gives a much better quality result. Probably could achieve something there by turning on indirect, which I didn't think to do because I wasn't intending to show you Firefly. But anyway, so as we can see here, our point light has created shadows in the underside of her chin and behind her body. Her skin looks okay, you know, it's quite a nice skin texture. This is Felony, I can't remember who made it. And it looks okay. But now look, if we go into the light setting here and we do properties, down here you'll see attenuation. And attenuation basically means how the light falls off with distance. And by default it's set to constant, which, given the importance of it, I don't understand why they do that. But what we actually want is inverse square. And inverse square, basically there are lots of things in science that follow what's known as the inverse square rule. And what the inverse square rule tells us is that the intensity of the effect is inversely proportional to the square of the distance from the source. So the way to think of it is, think of sunlight falling on the earth. The further away it is, the more the same amount of sunlight is diluted over the same area. So that's why it's colder at the poles, for example. Well, also to do with the angle. Right, so if I now render that, so this is what we had before, now with inverse square turned on. Look how much more dramatic that is. So what's happening is the light is falling off much more sharply as you move away from the subject. So I'll move out so as you can see that. And you can see it's almost in darkness out here. Whereas with the other one, with inverse square turned off, what it does is it does constant light that basically never stops traveling. There. So now, interestingly, actual photons of light never do stop traveling unless they're obstructed or diluted by something. They will continue forever into space. But you see, this kind of just lights the whole scene up, whereas the other version gives us a much more intimate portrait. So what's the other option you might be thinking? Inverse linear. Well, that's kind of halfway between the two. Daz says it's a linear fall off of intensity over distance, as opposed to inverse square law, which gives you better control over the light fall off. I kind of think, either go for it or don't go for it. This is also a bit of a legacy from Poser 7, I believe. So let me just show you a situation where you might not want inverse square. So we've got inverse square for the main subject. Now we've got our other light, which is up here somewhere, which is kind of like a fill light. And if I select that and turn that on, this has a constant attenuation. It's a blue light just to give the scene some atmosphere. And what I want to do here is flood the whole scene with blue. I don't want to have to deal with the rapid fall off in this area. So if I do this now, you'll see that the constant attenuation gives us a kind of a wash throughout the scene, and the inverse square gives us this sharp focus and really makes the skin look nice. So you might still want to have that here. It depends on the effect you're looking for. So anyway, it's a small effect. Thanks again to Heriberto for giving me that idea to look at. As you can see, I think it makes the skin look a lot more lively, and it kind of closes the area in on the portrait, so that's really nice. Perhaps if you were doing, say, a light in a scene, like a room light, a light bulb, even though it might be more realistic to have the fall off inverse square, you might want that constant just to light the whole room up. That's really up to you. Anyway, I've talked enough. Thanks again, and I'll speak to you soon.